or liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion on the Star Wars books that came out today. Oh, yeah. It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. It is the 5th and wildest week of comics in 2025. It's also Ahsoka Tano Day, by the way. Just got to put that out there, show some love for our girl Snips. But yeah, it's the wildest week of comics in 2025.
Ever. I'll one up you. It's ever. It's never been this crazy.
How many comic books are we going to do today? We're going to do 6.
Well, technically like 10 or something if you want to count each singular story in these things.
7 or 8. Yeah.
Because actually 2 of them are one-shots, which are basically double-sized comic books.
So we wonder about this amidst the Diamond Meltdown. There's also Dark Horse giving us 4 comics on one Wednesday. All right, let's dive into it though, because we got a lot to go through. Very quickly, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, Blue Sky at Iron Cannon, Twitter at Starraptor, STARRAPTER, and YouTube.com/Starraptor. We will pick all those back up at the end. Let's dive right in. Well, first off, very quickly, if you want to listen on audio after this. I'm going a mile a minute right now. After this episode, I will pop those up on this episode up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So enjoy now on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. But also, if you prefer audio, if you're listening on audio, let us know on their socials. Last but not least, we're a part of the Star Wars Underworld podcast network, where we enjoy the Iron Cannon on Mondays, flagship on Thursdays. Different things. The Discord server, Star Wars Underworld Discord server, is where the party is happening. Link down in the description below. Please do check that out. Okay, let's just dive in. Let's go. We got 6 books, and like you said, the first one we're going to do has 4 or 5 stories. I forgot. I lost count. It is High Republic Adventures Annual 2025, written by Charles Soule, Rosemary Soule, Alyssa Wong, Zoraida Cordova, Cavan Scott, and Justina Ireland. With art by Andy Duggan, Liana Kangas, Juan Samu, a typo. Juan Samu, Nick Brokenshire, and Colin Craker. Colors by Dan Jackson, Diana Souza, John Samu, also Vladimir Popov and Kelly Fitzpatrick. Letters by Comic Crafts, Tyler Smith and Robbie Bradford, and covered by Eduardo Francisco and Augusto Grillo. I don't want to worry about the typo there. This anthology issue collects 5. There's the answer. 5 tales of Republic bravery and Nihil treachery from across the galaxy, featuring Jedi Knight Vernestra Rowe, Jedi younglings John, Bree, and Toko, Churo the Hutt, and sly Nihil Driggit, and the sinister Baron Bulan as they navigate the perils of the impending Battle of Eriadu. Brought to you by some of the most influential creators of the High Republic saga that I just read and that are scrolling down on the screen, including a typo, all that. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to just quickly spend maybe 10 minutes per issue on this. 1 or 2 big things that stand out here. And a lot of these, first off, the kind of the overall theme here. This is High Republic Adventures, young readers wanting to get a good moral lesson. 2 that really stood out to me were Vernestra's story and Churo's story. I mean, they all kind of stood out, thinking about John, Bree, and Toko. I think that's the Charles and Rosemary story. So shout out to Rosemary Soule for another chipping in even more. And all of them talking about bravery, talking about prudence, talking about Vernestra saying, thinking back to the time when she was Stellan's Padawan, and saying, "Oh yeah, I helped this one animal. I stopped this one animal from attacking these folks who need to go into this pool." All these things, like it says, setting them up for the type of lessons they need to learn going into the Battle of Eriadu. And so I appreciate Churo. I think I'll get into this when I talk about Reath. He was the nerd, the bug nerd, and now he goes into this planet, and some brilliant art by the cast there, the crew there, and just this planet to try and find this flower that could heal Nalhada, but at the cost of ruining this other planet. And so he chooses to preserve life. He chooses to say, no, I'm not going to take this flower. And again, the kind of bravery that he's had to show, even at the expense of his own home planet, he's going against the kind of programming of a Hutt should. And so I always found Churo kind of fun. I think that's kind of all I want to say unless your thoughts prompt me. Chris, what did you think of this annual? And is there one or two stories that stand out to you? Unmute yourself there. It would help.
See, that's what happens when you're trying to frantically get everything out on socials and you forget to unmute yourself. So no, my most memorable one is actually one that you didn't mention, since I'm happy about, since we're just picking one or two, and that's Brothers and Sisters. Real big bone to pick with this one for the whole issue. Why didn't they give us the authors and their artists corresponding stories? That's really weird. I mean, I know these stories enough to know who's involved with them, at least from a writer's standpoint, but I'm assuming this one's written by Kevin Scott, since it's dealing with his characters from the ongoing Marvel series for the High Republic. So one thing I liked about this overall is the idea that they're cherry picking characters that we have seen from other things and putting them into the young reader label with Dark Horse. So I thought that was really cool to see Baron Bulin on Coruscant. We're going to be doing the Tempest Breaker review next week, by the way. I know we haven't had time to do it, which is unfortunate because a lot of these stories we're talking about today are basically spoiling that. So bear that in mind, everybody. We are now past the point of no return. If you have not finished Tempest Breaker, you're in for spoilers tonight. But Baron Bulin on Coruscant, that was cool because then he's reminiscing about this one character. It's a bounty hunter, and how she gets duped by this horse-looking person, alien, into basically being sacrificed for this guy to get his sister. And she's a force sensitive, and she's the white current. I'm guessing she's a Falinasti from the planet of Jeddah, because I think they also refer to that in that way. But this white-haired bounty hunter ends up being Hatar from the actual Marvel High Republic run by Kevin Scott. So it's a cool way it's a terrifying way, very mature, very adult oriented for this kind of thing on the Dark Horse label, to see the disgusting way that people are transformed into these nameless kind of shepherds. They're called the Children of the Storm, and she was apparently the first one of many, including Lycos and Sikaris. So I like seeing the dark descent of madness and Baron Bulin's, anything with like Kevin Scott's writing, I'm always a big fan of. The Finester run didn't do a whole lot for me, if I'm being honest. It didn't do a whole lot for me. Churo the Hutt one was fine. The heart to heart with Driggit, we're continuing to give her more of a bigger story, especially with Emilcine, who is another Tarkin. It's like the push and pull between going, oh, are you all the way with the Republic? Not quite. You're in the middle. You just don't want to see the Nihil win, because you've seen what happens when they win on Valo. You don't want that happening. Anybody else, you're getting revenge, vengeance. You're waiting for the right moment to strike. So there's good stuff in here. One last thing here with the three younglings and the stack frogs of doom. They mentioned Adelphi. I don't know if you caught that. That's actually where the High Republic or the New Republic has a naval base there.
Interesting.
Right, that's where your guy from Toronto is in the end of season 3, right? Adelphi, the Adelphi Squadron.
Sure, I'll take your word for it. Fair.
I believe it is. Yeah, and cool connection anyway. So
yeah, that's cool. Fair. I mean, like these all have one interesting to note. Also, different ranges of audience. I think some of these stories, I do know. I mean, that's the thing with these High Republic adventures, I don't feel like they're all ages. Like anything with Baron Bulan, love the phase 2, Path of the Open Hand, Path of the Closed Fist, The Force Will Be Free, everything that comes up with him in Tempest Breaker, to see, okay, is that gonna, what part is that gonna play in this final chapter of the High Republic? And then all the way down to, not down to, the John, Bree, and Toko, this kid's story of saying, okay, well, having the courage to break the rules, even if you might get in trouble because someone's in danger, and you need to do what you can do to get them out of danger. So all these things, I suspect a lot of these things might come back at some point in the different media that are going forward in this end run of the High Republic. I don't know about maybe John, Bree, and Toko, but yeah, like you're saying with Driggit and Emilsine, definitely you get that in DJO's run. She shows up in Avengers 14, which we'll get to in a second. I enjoy them. I never feel like, even with the Younglings one, obviously it's for younger kids, younger characters. It's like, we know that-that's the Souls, because it's very much like Jedi Brave in every way. I'm guessing that's the case. So, but yeah, I never feel like I'm talked down to, even in that one. So I enjoyed it. All right, we're moving on. Just putting that out there. Good to pick up on these different characters, different what they're up to. But let's move right to the Battle of Eriadu, High Republic Adventures number 14, written by Daniel Jose Older, art by Harvey Tolibau, colors by Michael Attier, letters by Colin Crafts, Tyler Smith, and Jimmy Betancourt, cover by Harvey and Kevin Tolibau. Fighting erupts on Eriadu. After months of oppression by the dastardly Nihil, valiant partners Lula and Zine lead the charge against the occupying force. Meanwhile, a hidden danger stirs beneath the battlefield that threatens to turn the tide of the war, but in whose favor? The fate of the galaxies on the line as the final arc of the High Republic Adventures begins. And it begins here with the first of 4 connecting covers. By the way, I love these connecting covers. I don't know why it's in the description. They'll create a spectacular landscape piece. It's your turn. I'll throw this to you. What do you think of the first salvo of the Battle of Eriadu?
Epic, cinematic, blockbuster movie type. This has got everything you want. We've been waiting more than 14 issues because we've been building these characters up for a whole nother run outside of this one. So it's been one heck of a way to get here. This feels kind of like the Battle of Minas Tirith, the Battle of Exegol, the end all be all for the High Republic. And we're seeing characters like Yaddle show up. We're seeing people going on skim boards, hoverboards, fighting over top of water, which is a really unique combat situation. But we're also seeing new things introduced, like the X-10 droid by Markion Rowe, which is just this really cool Jedi killer droid. But we're also getting a lot from Farzala, from introspection, going back to him as master, doing this weird dagger dance thing, which I wasn't quite understanding at the time. But we also finally get to peel the curtain back on Herwint Tix, and no one knows that name yet because that's actually the name of the Warden, and I believe he is a Zygerian. I wasn't sure what he was, but something really bad happened to his face to completely deform him, because back in the past he looks straight up like the uncle of Farzala or something. The idea that there's history there behind him and General Weiss, the Miri Allen that has appeared in Phase 2 fighting against Porter Engel. So we have a connection there. I just like that we're building the backstory to this guy to show a little bit more of him rather than just the mustache twirly version of, oh yeah, it's just another adversary for the Jedi to overcome. But also, I like how there's stakes in this. I was shocked. I thought maybe Court might die. There's a chance he actually could die in this thing. There's stakes. For the first time in a while, I feel absolute stakes, and things are ramped up to the point of, oh man, Farzala, he's got to be a leader now. He's got to stand up and lead these people. Meanwhile, you have Lula and you have Zine, who are bodyguards of Severin Tarkin, which is cool because the Tarkins have finally decided, okay, like enough is enough. All right, we'll aid the Republic on this one. So yeah, this is great. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and it looks like it's getting paid off pretty well with all these characters, especially if you've been, reading every ancillary piece of material of the High Republic. I feel like your mileage may vary, but especially if you're reading these things along, you're really gonna get a lot out of this.
It is wild to me and kind of amazing. I'm talking about these as the final chapter of the High Republic here, that the first big chunk, maybe this is why Dark Horse released them all on the same day, I don't know. The first big chunk happens in these all ages comics, and this issue really earns it stunningly. I love the way it starts with Farzala and his history and the Warden and his history. It gives, you talk about stakes with Court, it reminds us that Farzala is such a moving character. We go all the way through his journey through I mean it's Court with the mask and all that or whatnot, but through his journey all the way back from phase 1 to take this confident leadership. He has to lead. He has to be the guy to lead the Battle of Eriadu, because he's the one there and he's the one left. There's all these younger characters. Definitely speaks to me of what the High Republic is being all about. It's being about these younger characters coming into their own. And Farzala in this one saying, "Yeah, I gotta." Well, like it's Lula, I think, or maybe it's Quarter. I forget who it says, "You're the one who's got to go. You got to go take this." And to see this contrast with the warden and how he is this older character, this grizzled character who, Driggit, which we saw in the annual, who we saw in the annual, as you mentioned, he has to be ruthless with her. His ruthlessness for everyone and from everyone being under the thumb of General Weiss. I mean, that's where you'll get it from, and how he got her attention. It's this clash, this contrast between the feel good teamwork of the Jedi and the kind of sinister, self-imploding not skepticism, just distrust of the Nihil. And it's kind of cheesy, but that's the High Republic as the golden age. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna come into its own. And that is kind of, again, the young reader's moral of the story. But we'll see. We'll see how it pays off. In this one specifically, there's of course so much to go, but this is the Battle of Eriadu. Like you said, this is such a key confrontation, key engagement in the war against the Nihil and this whatever conflict with the Nihil. That because that's where the Stormball is. Remember, that's the thing that the Adrian story really drives home. That's the foothold. Because is it in this issue, or maybe it's another issue?
Dispatches. I think it was. I was about to say something, but I think you're on the same page as me.
Where it's Eriadu and Naboo. Yeah, it's We'll get there.
So what's happening on Naboo? Because based on what we've read, there's been no inclinations of anything happening there right now. So I guess we got to read along to see what's happening. I mean, the last we've seen Temptation of the Force was on Naboo. They kicked the Nihil out of there, and then it seemed to be fine. So something else is going on. Yeah,
what's the guy who lost his hand to the Blight? One of the
Santekas.
Yeah, Car. Santeca, yeah, and his fella who's the competitor, and I forget their names. It's been a while. It's been a year since those books.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, it's cinematic. The one I was able to send us the full issue because there was some pages missing. This 2-page spread of the Jedi Republic coming across over to the Nihil in this confrontation over the water. It's pretty spectacular. So
wait, that was the page I was missing?
Yeah, it was a 2-page spread that was missing. So
man, that sounds epic.
Yeah, so definitely pick it up at your local comic book shop because get the hard copy there. Do that. But not necessarily talking to you, Chris, talking to everybody. Great start again with the character focus and then the wider the wider stakes. Who knows? You're right. Who knows what might happen? Who might eat it? I kind of hope not. I think that it's a little bit cheap, but we'll see. Maybe. I mean, maybe someone, as long as they get. Here's the thing: if these characters gets killed off, we need time for the rest of them to grieve and to process that. That's the one ask I have.
Oh,
So anyway, I think we should. We're making good time. We can keep on going. Unless you have one last burning thought on this issue.
Nope.
All right. Third book of the week. Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, number 4. This one, where are we? Written by Kevin Scott, art and colors by Vincenzo Riccardi, letters by Comicraft's Tyler Smith and Jimmy Betancourt, cover by Jake Bartok. As calls for help make their way across the storm wall, the Marshal of the Republic fleet turns to an unlikely ally, former Jedi Ty Yorrick. But can the Maverick Saber for Hire be trusted when she encounters an old enemy on the ravaged plains of Dalna? And again, this one going back to Dalna, going back to again, a phase 1 location and a major phase 2 location. We've already been to Dalna in Tempest Breaker, so that's one reference to Tempest Breaker in this. And then of course, Ty and Druin, they encounter Tayserek and Lorna D on this planet. They run into these 2 kids who had escaped from this Nihil labor camp. And the standout for me, oddly enough, I mean, yes, this book, whenever we catch up with Ty, she's more and more on board with what the Jedi are doing. She's not fully committed yet, but she probably will be soon. Hopefully not fully ever. I mean, I think her character does need to be a bit more rogue, but it was cool seeing Tayserek and using that fist.
Yeah.
Putting the line that we again see in Tempest Breaker. Lorna D helping some refugees resettle them, being mistaken for the bad guy, and then she turns out, of course, she's not. She's not even reluctantly. It's a similar kind of thing to Ty. It's a good foil, good counterbalance, good mirror to Ty Yorrick, in that another very rogue character. I mean, phase 1 full-on villain, part of the Nihil, one of the leaders of the Nihil. How she has come all this way, and she's got even further to go in Kevin Scott's Marvel comic, like you mentioned. So to see her come in again, for Ty to say, "Oh, I'm surprised by the woman keeps surprising me." Kind of maybe giving Ty some thought, giving Ty a moment to say, "Okay, maybe there's still more deeper I can go here too." Obviously, she has that moment at the end with Elzar, where she says, "Oh, I'm surprised by this woman, Lorna D." There, and of course, we get Keeve in there. Just a reminder, who's the most not the most important character in the High Republic, but who Kevin is using as this little signpost of where we are. She's the Marshal, right? I guess not Elzar. She's the Marshal of the fleet, and calling the shots here. Like in Tempest Breaker, she's a great role in that too. Again, we'll get to all of that next week. But again, another issue. This is High Republic Adventures by Dark Horse. This is an adult issue. I mean, there's a younger character in the middle of it with these kids at the camp, but this was a good grown-up issue in High Republic Adventures. What did you think of catching up with Ty and Druin, encountering Tay and Lorna on this planet?
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, I had to look back at my notes for Tempest Breaker to be like, oh, does this take place after or before that book? And it definitely takes place after. But a lot of cool things going on here as far as learning more about a Force user that uses the power of plants, like Poison Ivy, this character named Vila, who is apparently a Lanto plant mage. So that was really neat seeing that orchestrated in a Star Wars book, because we've seen it once before happen with a plant mage, I believe on Jeddah, with that group of different force users that they have that represents like the people of Jeddah. So that was really neat seeing that come back full circle. Again, I love the idea of characters jumping from different adult mediums into all ages mediums, because it is that, you know, hey, anything can happen to High Republic. You have your favorite character showing up at all different spots. It was nice to see Downa again, especially physically, and seeing that Alorna, I forgot that she was connected with like the destruction of that planet in a way, and this is kind of her atoning for her sins of trying to defend things, but also like having that bounty guild and having the droid, having some other person. So we're going to see like the immediate fallout of what she's been doing all this time and seeing lasting effects of pivotal things such as the Hand of Siberys breaking. So that's the main tool that the Sith weapon that Tesseric used that the people had problems with in Tempest Breaker. So there's a lot of good stuff there. And overall, like looking back at the series, since we're talking about the last issue, I think this is a cool way of giving us a snapshot of all these different characters, with the different writers, the different artists on board, to see what they're all doing. Because by the end of the day, the mission was, okay, we got to get these droids out to the Republic to see like every advantage we can. I think it is interesting how the Rancor Rider, which is the official vehicle of I see Tesseric and Yorrick. It's too close to names in the same book.
Yeah.
Yorrick and Druin are able to utilize a path drive to go back and forth. And that's the bit of the High Republic where I think they've bit off a little bit more than they could chew. They kind of like had a little hole, and now it became so large because now it's just like, all right, why don't we just ferry every possible Jedi to these planets and just take them over at this point? If we can get everybody on the Rancor Rider and just keep ferrying them across the whole time. Boom. Now the solution is solved. That simple. I mean, maybe not the nameless solution, but they could sure as hell get rid of Marchion Ro if they get about 100 Jedi over on that planet at once. Sorry, he's not going to survive against that. But maybe the nameless you get. But anyway, I'm getting out of context here. But yeah, I mean, this was good because it gives us the answer of, okay, the Naboo and Eriadu are under attack. Here's what we need to do to get through there. Last thing, a little bit of negative on the colors and the art. I feel like it was just like a nameless effect the entire time for no reason because there was not a single nameless layer. So it was throwing me off. I just don't particularly like that design, and that's it.
That's right. I was gonna shout that. I love that look. I get that doesn't make sense that there's no nameless there. I mean, there's the Longto plant mages. I mean, that's kind of weird and mystical. I don't know. Similar to the Churo story in the annual, right? I just really just like the aesthetic of it. Makes it feel different and more mystical going into a forest. But yeah, I guess if we're tying it to like that goes to fear number 1, right? We're tying it to that. Yeah, I can see it doesn't kind of make sense story wise. I don't know that we have a second talk about the whole path drive thing. I mean, it makes a pretty big target. Maybe that's the thought. I don't know. I wish they would have like just one line of dialogue to explain that, but you know, what can you do? First off, before we move on, Tyler, you did a lot of work. we're seeing your work bear for here. When I'm mentioning Comicraft's Tyler Smith, that's him right there. So glad to have you in. Yeah, Tano Day. There we go. I think it's when first time we see her. So there you go. Okay, moving right along. One last Dark Horse book. We're almost there. One last Dark Horse book. Echoes of Fear, number 4. Written by George Mann, art by Vincenzo Federici, colors by Francesco Segala and Gloria Martinelli. As mentioned, letters by Comicraft's Tyler Smith and Jimmy Betancourt. Cover by Eduardo Mello and Valentina Tadeo. Jedi Knight Reath Silas and Jedi Padawan Amadeo Azazo embark on a desperate mission to recover the Rod of Ages, the last known fragment of an Echo Stone, in time to help contain the greatest threat that has ever faced the Jedi Order, the Deadly Force Eaters, known as the Nameless. Again, going back and forth through your turn, Chris. I'll throw this to you. What do you think of Echoes of Fear number 4?
This might have been my favorite out of all 4 books, honestly. I know you were probably freaking out reading the flash forward scene I was alluding to with the Kyber mirror, seeing the future of Reath Silas and some tantalizing shots. Like, oh my gosh, that's the big takeaway for me. Is like, oh my gosh, did he kill Aslan Rel? Oh my gosh, Amadeo dies. Oh my gosh, he becomes a member of the Jedi Order, the Council. Like all these huge things, and that'll probably happen. I think all that is going to happen. I believe it. I believe that's his future, and so that was a big takeaway for me. But I know you love this character so much with Reath Silas, and the idea of seeing how far he's come. Right, like these whole series. This is the last issue of the. So it's good to talk about the whole thing overall too. But the idea that they are stuck in the library, the archives for so long, and now they're getting their hands dirty. Now they're actually adventuring. They're figuring this stuff out. Now, I will say the artwork on this is absolutely incredible. It's innovative as all hell.
Oh, yeah.
As somebody that has played countless hours of Diablo 4, this guy must have been, whoever this person was at the DR. I'm sorry, let me look at it. Must be Diablo 4 players or Path of Exile 2 players, because I absolutely love those pages when it's the isometric view of them doing the dungeon crawl and they have the portrait insets of the characters. Like, we need more of that in comics. That was so freaking creative. I absolutely loved it. It was like, whoa, this is tantalizing stuff. This is awesome reading this and following along. It was such an easy way to figure out like where they're going. Kind of reminded me of Indiana Jones. Like, okay, we got these different staircases. There could be traps around. The idea that it was like Indiana Jones in a way where it's like, okay, we're multiple barriers, whether it be like sentient old ancient droids or different puzzles that they got to figure out. Forgot to mention Vitus Comac is there, or Comac Vitus, whatever it is. I always forget the order of his first and last name. But it was a great way. I even see him use Shalandra Show's shield for the first time, like on a graphics, like seeing on paper, throwing this thing around like Captain America and just being like the actual knight with the shield, just bashing droids. Like, this was a kick-ass issue.
Yeah. It's a Jedi Fallen Order, the comic book. I mean, that's my frame of reference. You have a much larger video game frame of reference. The only game I've ever played like this is Jedi Fallen Order. So, but I mean, it's literally Jedi going under a cave to go find a thing, a good big shiny crystal thing, having to fight these kind of golem droid things, and doing these tests that, like you mentioned, really are tests of character that reveal their character, as we see with Jedi temples throughout the galaxy, like we see, on Mustafar, on the planets in Jedi Fallen Order. I'm blanking on it right now, but like just like that. I mean, the kind of like the Order 66 scene, right? What planet is that? It's I'm like, anyway, I'll get it in like 5 minutes. Tyler, let me know in the comments. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. The one that Darth Maul's from, that one. That moment again, like you.
Dathomir,
that one. Yeah, come on, Matthew. Sometimes. Anyways, but yeah, you mentioned that the moment with the crystal mirror. I mean, that's also Rey on Octo, right? Seeing what lies before, what lies ahead, and the amazing thing. I love this. I don't. Maybe all those things happen. I definitely can see him being on the council. Definitely can see him. I mean, who knows what happens to Amadeo? I don't know. I mean, Aslan's coming back to the light, so we'll see. The point is that none of those matter to him in the moment. He's finally able to say, I'm present, I'm active. Like you said, how far he's come. Yeah, in this issue, in this comic book, yeah, him and Amadeo, and in Tears of the Nameless, they're in the archives studying this whole time. They're studying for the sake of being able to know where to go and get out an adventure and actually find this Rod of Ages, right? How far he's come from Light of the Jedi, where he's with this kid who all he wanted to do was crawl up into the archives just because he was too afraid to really face the world. And that, the way the Force moves in mysterious ways, that all that time studying history with some adventure, some tragedy, some crisis, being part of this crisis. He's really being able to take on the Indiana Jones. And remember, Indiana Jones is an academic. He's Dr. Jones. You'd be able to take on the challenge of, you gotta think, the Battle of Eriadu and the Nihil forces, all that. This is more important than all that. I think. Maybe I'm just hyping up my guy, but we've seen, we saw what the Rod of Power is able to do with the Blight, right? And we're able to do with the Nameless. Without the Nameless, the Nihil are not that big of a threat.
Nope.
But Reath, he's able to just calmly step into that pit of snakes. We're here calmly to help the galaxy, and so those snakes they just go and they disperse. And of course, there's that droid sitting there, and the droid is all, "Oh, you're here to save me." Isn't that great? Yeah. Save me. And oddly enough, this is a wild contrast, even to Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon goes to Tatooine. He finds not a powerful object, but incredibly powerful being named Anakin. And Anakin says, "Have you come to free us?" And Shmi is kind of more realistic about it. He says, "No, I'm not here to free slaves. I can't. I got other things to do." Reath is able to, this is just one droid, but Reath is able to keep in mind that, we can take the droid too. It's fine. Right? That Jedi help people, that they're able to help the galaxy. And so, that's the amazing thing is, that's the brilliant thing about this crystal moment. I'm realizing this now. When he was younger, he was thought safety in the past. In this moment, he's tempted to find safety and certainty in the future. Instead, he realized, no, he has to face the danger of the present and say, my path is not written. The Force and I will write it together, and I will step forward. And it's funny how the cover spoils the big moment, but we kind of needed it to, right? We needed to know, he gets the rod. What I'm curious about finally going forward, this is my last point, is in all these other 3 issues, it's called Echoes of Fear. It's called it's the rod of these rods. We know in Tears of the Nameless, their purpose was to guide the Nameless back to the planet. But they caused this division and tension. And I wonder, it's almost like the Ring, in a way. The One Ring, the way
Lord of the Rings,
this weight. What is that going to do to Reath, right? How might that affect all those cause all things to happen or not? How is he going to face this temptation to grasp for certainty in the present? Kind of bringing Barash, for example, how she's all about certainty and certainty. This is phase 2. Again, I think there's still a temptation for Reath to say, this is what the books say, and this is what this crystal might say, or be overcome with power, like Aslan is this warning, the power of the dark side to control the Nameless by bombing this planet, for example. To see how he deals with this. I know we'll find that out. I hope we find that. Hopefully pick that up, because that's something that George Mann has definitely seeded in through all these 4 issues, is if this rod gets buried somewhere, it's bad news ultimately for this population. So I loved it. I love this run. Glad that it really brings an oomph to it. It's basically an epilogue, Tears of the Nameless, but that's fine. How about things continue on? So my guy Reath, he's got it. There we go. Any last thoughts on this one? Tyler, wondering what you mean there. Is the fact that I had to use different there we go. There we go. All right. So that's the High Republic books. That's 4 of them. 2 more to go. We got 2 more to go. Of course, one is longer. Ewoks number 4, written by Steve Orlando, art by Alvaro Lopez and Laura Braga, colors by Antonio Fabella, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna, and covered by Pete Woods. This again, Marvel. The Imperials make their final play. The Ewoks make a final stand against the Empire. The giant Gorax enters the fray. Can anyone survive its mighty rage? Okay, we're jumping a few centuries here, and it was an interesting little shift in tone and whatever. What to say? Yeah, and then this comic is being this kind of a bit fun, a bit goofy. It's Marvel adult, but it's Ewoks. Of course, it's gonna be fun and goofy. Come on, that's who they are, their species, but also getting behind the fur there and their commitment to values, to community, to gathering. And you got the what's his name? Is it Midro? What's her name? Gathering the Yuzums. All these other characters. I love that moment where they go off, and here's just riding on this massive spider thing, and apparently their Yuzums are from Endor.
Yep.
Who knew? I didn't know.
Oh, that. I knew that. Yep. Yeah. It was mentioned in another canon novel not too long ago. Yep.
And then how Koyata and everything kind of falls apart. I love that he's a fake.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Loved it.
Clearly, this is it before the Battle of Jakku ends. And you get one last hurrah with Ulbrich here, in a way, in that we know in our mind, back in our minds, Adelhard, he's irrelevant. He passes on that sense of irrelevance and dismissiveness to Koyata, saying, "Okay, well, even if you stole this uniform, if you at least could have gotten the weapons cache, you might have redeemed yourself." And it might have changed something in his final result. I don't know at Jakku, maybe not, but you never know. We don't know because he didn't get it, because he was defeated by a bunch of teddy bears. For the second time, the Empire defeated by a bunch of teddy bears for the second time. There we go. That's great. And then they destroy the cache and all these TIE fighters and these walkers, because that's the thing with Ewoks. They probably could, right? We have, is it Wicket who's speaking basic there?
Mm-hmm.
Could go off. Yeah, we got the Lego thing with the joke that they're bounty hunters. Then this one, they could go off. They want to stay. They want to stay on Bright Tree. They want to have their level of technology. Very curious. I enjoyed the way with 4LOM, the way it played with their mythology, like with 3PO, but here there's a confrontation. You offended our beliefs, or whatever it is. You pretended to be this evil character. We see through it. Yeah, that they don't need this technology. They don't need to be great in the galactic sense. They just need to be Ewoks of Bright Tree Village, and there's a real serenity there. There's a real courage, I think, to say, yeah, we have these rebels, maybe Republic, but we're going to come back and do our own thing, be the height that we are, be the appearance that we are, and do our thing. So this whole run, this whole run had a lot of heart. Again, destroying the cache, it is the perfect ending. It is very much in line with everything, and how they're being this peace with the Yuzums, with all these other creatures on Endor. It was a neat look. I haven't seen Caravan of Courage, and all these other characters. So it's good to really for me to be introduced to this whole world, this whole ecosystem on Endor that, of course, Return of the Jedi doesn't get to at all, which is it had other things to do. But really look into Endor and then the whole universe that is Endor. What do you think of this issue, Ewoks number 4?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This reminds me of like a good old comic fan's dream of the kid in all of us. Hey, let's play with the action figures. What would happen if we had a Gorax versus an ATST? That's such a thing that would come up, for kids watching that movie back in the day. Like, I was good age for that movie thing. It was fun. It was fun. I did have a little bit of problems with it, especially the epilogue. I don't know who Whittle is, because there's a reference like to a brother of Wicket.
Okay.
And he was saying like he was standing there by. So I had some editing issues because who's Whittle and why is that significant?
Someone who stayed up all night while he was away. Is that what you're?
Yeah, but like it's not clear who that is because it shows Wicket standing there. But who's Whittle? I don't know. I was thrown off by that epilogue a little bit. But it was cool, like unification. I think the big thing here is unifying the Yuzums. It could have used another issue, I think, because it felt rushed. Like, who are these guys and where the hell are they coming from, kind of thing. Sure. Like literally, it was so sudden. It was like a 2-minute thing. Wicket was flying. I don't know how he got on. I don't know how he got the wing suit thing. Yeah. Gets knocked down, runs away. Next page, he comes back with an entire army. Like, where have these guys been the whole time? So I have problems with this issue. It was fun, but it definitely shows, like, again, I don't know why Marvel is so hung up on 4-issue miniseries, because half of them don't really seem like they pay off in the end. It's just like Marvel just wants to come out with these things, ship them out quick, just get the populace to go to the next thing. And I feel like that's a hindrance sometime on these stories, because it was going really well up until this issue, and then it just kind of fell apart a little bit for me at the end. I mean, I do like the whole turn for Koyata being like a maintenance guy that's just trying to get his comeuppance and trying to get a name for himself and just failing flat on his face, literally. But yeah, I mean, it was good for the lore. Looking back at the whole thing now, apparently we're talking a lot about like ending a lot of miniseries on this episode.
Third 4-issue series that's ended.
Yeah, so I think overall this is really fun. This whole idea of the Ewoks, and it's been great to mine all the lore, like you had mentioned. I had watched those Ewok movies late last year, so I know that spider thing that Wicket was riding on. I know the different dragon creatures, perhaps, and the Bronto, whatever the hell, like the horse basically looking thing. Like, I know all these little things, so it's a great way to see it canonized, and to see these things brought to light, to see that the different relationships, the cultural identity of the Ewoks, and how they're communicating with Bright Tree Village, with all the different disparate kind of people, whether it be Midro and the Red Ghost, who are more like the outsiders of it. And so it was overall kind of fun to really get kind of get that focused lens on these characters that we've known for 40-something years, but we're still learning new things about, just thanks to Steve Orlando and team.
It really felt like it's setting up for more things. I don't know if that's true, but like you said, with the ending, with the Yuzums, with these characters that they've introduced, even that little thing at the end, yup, it's the end. Is it? Like I say, they're trying to convince us. So, yup, it's the end. It'll be fun. I want. It makes you want to revisit this. Yeah, this 4-issue thing. I mean, with the Great Diamond Meltdown, that might be again another reason why Dark Horse said here, okay, all 4 issues go. Maybe there's some calculation there, trying to say, okay, at least you can get these things out. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because traditionally it was. Maybe a standalone would be 5 issues, and then an arc of an ongoing would be 6. And I mean that was true for it's true for Jason Aaron's Star Wars. Jason Aaron's coming up in a second. Jason Aaron's Star Wars is true. It's true for Avengers. So all these. So yeah, interesting having these 4-issue 4-offs, if you will. Because I mean. The ideal, you want beginning, middle, and end, and the middle is the middle 2 issues I think maybe that's the idea, is you're kind of thinking about a cinematic structure, right? You have the first act, maybe the first issue. The second and third issues are the second act, and the fourth issue is the third act. Maybe, yeah. I mean, but that's not the ratio of a film. Like the ratio of a film, it would be kind of 1-3 than 1 in the traditional, typical. So, I mean, it's a different medium, but yeah, I can see that, like that they've all felt rushed, right? The Django one felt, okay, this is finishing now. Maybe they heard criticism. I don't know if this is true or not, but you know, they heard the criticism of the Greg Pak Darth Vader could have been. I mean, this is a whole different scale, so I don't know why, but you know, to be more concise and be tighter with their storytelling. I don't know, but I do see what you mean, giving a little more time. Also, they got to fit the 23 pages or bust usually, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. We have a bit of time. Any last thoughts on Ewoks 4?
No, not really. It's a fun one. I don't know if I'm gonna really, think back to 2024 and be like, oh, that was a highlight for me or anything like that. I'm not going to go ahead and recommend Ewoks as like the first choice for a miniseries. I'll probably go to something else first, like Shattered Empire or something. You know what I mean? But it's a fun one. Like if you have somebody that's really obsessed with Ewoks, then yeah, they should buy the book.
Yeah, why not? It's fun. Again, nice little thing. Yeah, maybe to see if there is connections to the wider galaxy here. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, we should move on. One more to go. This is the New Legacy one shot. We got the Grand Imperial Jubilee, written by Charles Soule, art by Ramon Rosanas, colors by Niraj Menon. For the Love of the Empire, written by Jason Aaron, art by Leonard Kirk, and colors by J. David Ramos. Moving on. Rogue's Gambit, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Salva Espin, colors by Israel Espin, letters by, and then for the whole issue, letters by VC
Israel Silva.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Colors by Israel Silva. I got that. Then letters by VC's Clayton Coles, and cover by Toronto's Steve McNiven and Laura Martin. A decade of Marvel Star Wars comics. Celebrate 10 years of Marvel Star Wars comics with all new stories by some of the most influential creators of the decade. Thrill as Darth Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin, Darth Momin, Dr. Aphra, Valance, Chaneth Cha, Rick Duel, Commander Zara, the Tags, and more. There's more, believe it or not, collide during a Grand Imperial event thrown by Mr. Sheev. Gasp and laugh at a perilous game between 000, BT1, and Chrysanthemum. And whatever happened to Scar Squadron? So I'll throw this to you. What do you think of a New Legacy one shot?
Yeah, two issues I could just throw out the window. Or two stories I could throw out the window. The one story is pretty good. That's my concise review of this whole thing. Right. But I'll start at the bat, I guess. The last story, oh man, it was a nothing burger. It was like, okay, these Dr. Aphra, BT0, 000, whatever. They're on their Archangel before Vader down, and they're just sitting around playing a game. Black Chrysanthemum's acting exactly like Chewbacca. It's not anything it's like something we've seen already. And then Aphra just goes and calls up Vader and says, "Oh, we need help over here." Vader comes in and just says, "It's a game, get over it," and leaves. And that's the whole story. I'm like, really? That's Jason Aaron's big take. Like, I don't know. It just was very disappointing, that one for me.
And you can keep going.
Okay, and then another one was Scar Squadron. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, is this one dark? Like, is it me, or did they just start massacring people for no reason? Yeah, they just started killing everybody, and I didn't understand it. Like, they show up, the kids are imitating Luke, Han, and Leia. They show up, and then they realize, oh, we are not the saviors that they want anymore. That we're not the heroes they want anymore. Okay, let's just start killing them all. It was such a bad way of transitioning. I don't know what Kieran Gillen was thinking. It was just odd to me. And you think you're led to believe with the way these solicits are, like, oh, we're gonna get a definitive answer on like what Scar Squadron actually their fate is. We don't get it. We got one of them, Zook, that dies, the heavy guy, and then they just continue doing whatever they're doing. We still have no idea what they're doing now. So it was lacking conclusion. It was it wasn't like clear what the heck was happening. It took a turn for the worse, and yeah, no, it's kind of harsh, but that's kind of my feeling, because I really like these guys. I really wanted to see something a little bit more impactful, something a little bit more, conclusive with their story, because I've always enjoyed when they popped up. I love the idea of a super squad, kind of like the Bad Batch, but with the Imperials. So
yeah, they're very inspired.
It was kind of a miss for me, but the first story was really cool. It did do too much with fan service, I think. I think there was just way too many cameos that were there just for the hell of being there, of course. But I think Charles Soule did a great job with dealing with characters he hasn't dealt with before, such as Dr. Aphra. Wait. He did do a little bit of Dr. Aphra, I guess, a few times, but he was not a main writer for the character. Same thing with Violent Valence. He hasn't really done a lot with him. So I thought he did a great job of getting all these different characters, even Commander Zara. That was fun seeing her stabbing the possessed moment. Getting to see Terex again was really, really cool. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. It was a good hijinks of, okay, this person's doing this person wants this person's going here for this, and then like everything collides and it becomes an absolute calamity. So the artwork looked amazing, and I really liked to see where it was like, oh, I could see some seeds being laid for the future. I could see that Bylert knows who Aphra is, and they're both alive after post Return of the Jedi. We know that Valance is going to be a big role in this post Return of the Jedi era. I could see maybe even these two characters sharing an ongoing comic or something at one point, maybe going on. But yeah, this was a fun celebration. The Jubilee story of everything coming before. The other two stories were just like, hey, these are guys that haven't wrote Star Wars in about 8 years or something. Here, write a Star Wars story. And it was more, it wasn't my favorite things from either of them that they've done, but that's okay.
Yeah, fair. I mean, teach their own. Sure. It was just fun to see Jason Aaron's name and Kieran Gillen's name in there. I actually thought the chess game was hilarious. I thought it was so funny because that's 000 and BT. Their whole shtick is that they're Dark 3PO and Dark R2, and Chris Abbot's whole shtick is that he's Dark Chewie. And so for the fact that 000 and BT are more violent than Chewie is, or more violent than Chrysanthemum is, just a fun little kind of cluing in. Oh, this is what they're doing. They're parodying that scene. For what it is, the little 6-page whatever. I thought it was pretty funny. Just a little joke, basically, is what it is. I think if you go into it expecting something more serious, yeah, you might be more disappointed. The Scar Squadron I thought was fascinating, actually. You get into Sergeant Creel's head, and I thought it was actually really telling. When they go back to this planet Horford, sounds very English. Horford, where they thought they'd be hailed as heroes, and Luke's destroyed the Death Star, and he's inspired the galaxy, like he'll inspire the galaxy 30 years later. And so he opens that door, like you said, with all those kids dressed up, cosplaying as the heroes here. And Creel says, "Today here, now I realize we've already lost this damn war. It's not about Death Stars and outer rim worlds, hearts and minds. That's what matters. And that's where we as stormtroopers have missed the mark." And saying how he fears that when history is written, this is just quoting him here, people like us will go down as the villains instead of the defenders of law and order that we are. And how convinced, I just love how convinced he is, or not necessarily how he's so trying to convince himself. He's trying so hard to convince himself that he's the hero, that he's standing up for law and order and justice, that he says he's gonna convince everyone to have to kill them all. And it's just the lengths which they go to justify themselves. I thought that was actually a fascinating. That's kind of my thinking of what Jason Aaron's thought there is. So yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know what ends up happening to them in the Imperial Remnant, if anything does. Be curious. I do like that idea of Afra and we'll get into that in a second, but Afra and Valance, that's his name, meeting up. It may be in Alex Segura's comic. I think that seems to make more sense in light of Luke inspiring the galaxy again. And so this is a 28 page. I looked at the page count. The Charles story here, Grand Imperial Jubilee, 28 pages, needed to be that long to build in all these characters. It doesn't feel chaotic. It feels very clear about where everyone is and where they're going. It was a really great job plotting it out by Charles Soule and Ramon Rosanas and Niraj Menon, making it clear what's happening. Moment. Anytime we get Moment, like critiquing this art there. Oh, this is amateur. This is nonsense.
Starts losing it. Oh my gosh.
What is this rubbish? They're like, oh, I know this. Artist forgotten, artist unknown. Don't you know who I am? That's amazing. So I always want to see more Moment. He's one of the great characters that Charles made. Again, harking back to 2017 run, that last arc with building Vader's castle, and every time he fails, he gets whoever's the host gets killed off and finds a new host, and just the obsession with art and with being too big for his britches there a little bit. But he's Darth Moment, so he's not quite as big. Yeah, all these characters getting thrown in, it is kind of funny, but it was a great celebration. That's the thing this one shot's supposed to be about, right? It's interesting how I confused it with the Free Comic Book Day one. That one is the new era. This is May 3rd, May 7th. We get Star Wars 2025 #1 by Alex Segura. That's going forward. This one is, for the most part, celebrating the past, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just throwing all those characters in there. And like you said, this interesting, intriguing encounter between Afra and Sana. Good to see Afra and Sana teaming up when they teamed up, and Valance and this Rick Duel. Do we know who Rick Duel is? Or have we seen him before?
He was in one of the Rebellion one shots.
Okay.
Return of the Jedi Celebration one shots. I think they came out. Was it 2023?
Yeah, I think around there. Okay.
Right around the time of Dark Droids, that was coming out on a monthly basis. One of them was with was with that character, and people were wondering, like, I think Mark Guggenheim wrote that issue. It's like he was a Legends character, and then they introduced him, but it was like, okay, why are they introducing him? Because he's not going to be in anything else, and here he is. So
again, this could be seeded in. Things could be seeded in here, but the main thrust is celebrating everything that's come before.
I thought for sure that was Cassian Andor for a moment. When I first seen him with like the trench coat, the way his hair is, I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. We're having Andor teaming up with Valance. This is so cool. And then I was like, oh, it's that guy.
And Andor was dead by then. Pretty sure.
No, he wouldn't be, because this was 2 years before.
You're right. 2 years before.
So it could have been him. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually Andor teaming up with this. This is cool.
Definitely a visual inspiration. Just like Scar Squadron, their ship is a lot like the Bad Batch ship.
Yeah, with the way that the elongated laser cannons on the wings.
And they're Force 99. So I wonder what the production history, or whatever their units called. 99.
This is called Task Force 99.
Yeah, Task Force 99. It's supposed to Clone Force 99.
Yeah,
you know what I'm getting at here. So, pretty fun. Even Terex, a young Terex. It was hard to tell. Is he the one who was going off trying to find the booze, or was he the one being like, "No, I want a long career. I'm going to play it straight." I think it was probably the one who wants a long career, but that was fun. But I think I enjoyed this. I understand kind of, okay, what's the point of these other little stories? But yeah, that was fun. And any last thoughts on New Legacy one shot?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like 10 years. I remember exactly where I was when I picked up the very first issue of Star Wars. I had to go down to South Jersey. A friend of mine invited me to go check it out. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll pick this up. And then it was history ever since, you know. That was way back in the day now, it seems like, because in the hype to The Force Awakens, things were ramping up. We were going to Journey to the Force Awakens stuff, I think, pretty soon. Aftermath was coming out. It was a good time to be a Star Wars fan. The hype was real.
Yeah, I remember that was the first comic book I got on my pull list ever.
Mm-hmm.
Read
Same.
every weekly. And yeah, 10 years later, waiting for May 7th. Can it come any sooner? But yeah, definitely. Yeah, film the hype again. That's the nice thing. And it's interesting, bring this one shot out, getting Jason Aaron and getting Kieran Gillen and, you know, Charles Soule with his 2017 run. He's the one who's still writing Star Wars. We had another book by him today, another story by him today. We're getting the climactic novel of the High Republic by him, but he was also there as an architect of Darth Vader's story, my favorite comic of all time, in 2017. So yeah, that one came out 8 years ago. I can count. Yeah, so it was nice to get all three of them again with love moment. Anyway, we're rambling. We got through them all. We're kind of loopy. Any last thoughts?
Oh yeah, Dark Horse and Marvel, don't do this ever again, because this is an absolute disservice to the fans, to the creators. First off, the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me all day Saturday to read all these things. I had other plans to do, and I couldn't get those done because I had to read these comics. Yeah. I didn't have to. And in certain circumstances, you, Matthew, it took you more than one day to read these, more than one night. So it is rather inconvenient. I know it sounds like a first world problem. It's a good thing we're getting Star Wars comics, but it would be better for our pocketbooks, our wallets, our time, if things are more spread, you know, strategically, and for the creators, right? We had to blow through these things in 10 minutes or less. So these are not getting the amount of, you know, our usual 20, 25-minute deep dives because we had to get through these efficiently. So those creators are kind of, you know, you put all these things out on the same day, things slip through the cracks. People might not get everything. So it's a bad system. And the idea that 4 of these stories are High Republic stories that all came out on the same day is also, I hate to say it, but it does show the cracks that are forming in the High Republic a little bit, where I think we have hit the overload of this thing. And I because I've seen that a Twitter follow I posted a poll about the High Republic, and it does seem like a lot of people have dropped off. And I think it is because there is like almost too much of it. And then the last year or two, they have been doing a better job, at least for the novels, to like not release them all in the same day. They used to release the middle grade, the young adult, and the adult novel all in the same day. It was just too much. But I think I hope that Lucasfilm in the future does look at the data from High Republic and be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have like 3 or 4 mini series going on just with one label at the same time. It's a little bit too much. You know, they are quality, but after a while, it does feel like it's too much to keep up with all these things. But you know, what's even worse is that 2 of these were one shots, which are basically almost double the size with multiple stories. So we have to digest these things on individual micro stories within them. So that takes even more time. So long story short, I know it sounds like I'm shouting at the cloud. It's not a bad thing that we're getting Star Wars comics, but I think it would do everybody, creators and consumers alike, if they were spaced out better. Especially, it's even more of a glaring problem when next week we have a single comic. It's like, really, guys? Even
kind of odd that Ewoks 4 came out this week. Sorry, when Battle of Jakku. So I'm going to see. Oh, keep. Sorry, everyone. Ewoks 4 came out this week when it probably should have come out before Battle of Jakku, number 12. But I will say it is wrong. It is impressive that we got through all of them.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, they have other things. They're licensed. Star Wars licenses them to Dark Horse, whereas like Marvel, I mean, it's still sort of a license, but it's in-house, House of Mouse. So they might have to do with it. But
good point.
A little bit, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if Lucasfilm says, "Hey, we want these books released this time," because we know Echoes of Fear
came out like a month ago, technically, for us.
They accidentally gave it to us a month ago, so it was ready, but they wanted it. I mean, I think maybe they wanted them all closer to the release of the next novel or things like that. Tyler making some more comments here. Of Phase 2 came out in the same day. Yeah, so I mean a lot of it. So it's just behind the scenes here.
Oh,
like the deadline of Phase 2. So that's another interesting thought. There, that's what kind of ties into my thought about wanting them. Maybe it would have some of these comics, not that they would be released earlier, but they would be released later. But because maybe they wanted to hit this beat in the story, hit the Battle of Eriadu today.
Okay.
They definitely had to release the annual by today.
Yeah, because then you look ahead, right? That next month, in a couple of weeks, we're going to get the High Republic Fear the Jedi miniseries from Marvel, which is the next thing in a High Republic, I believe. I know. Now, when do we get? We're getting another manga, right? At some point.
Yeah. The Precedence. No, the Edge of Balance.
So that'll be the last thing. Because we're gonna. Oh wait, there's a one shot for the Battle of Eriadu, right?
Yeah,
Alyssa Wong is doing that. I'm not sure when that's coming. So we're getting near the end. So I guess they do have to just kind of churn these things out when they can get them done for the sequence to be correct.
Yeah,
and reading order and all that.
I just think they could have released some of them
earlier in the month, like this one that affected month. Yeah.
So I get it, but I guess I also think this is definitely a freak, right? Definitely a rare exception.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see this happen again.
I will say also, some folks, a lot of folks, the tradition of reading single issues is you go to your shop. You go to your shop, you buy your stack of 50. I know some folks go to their shop every week. They have like 30 issues, maybe 10, maybe 15 of all across different publishers or whatever. And that's how they spend their Wednesday evening. It's just sitting reading through all the comics, like kids' Saturday morning cartoons. So I get it. I mean, it's just different ways of doing things. But yeah, one thing last I say, I agree with you, Chris. It would have been nice to just spend a bit more time giving our kind of like more introspective, in-depth commentary on these things. Supposed to have to blow through all of them. But different things. I mean, maybe when these storylines get picked up, hopefully we'll be able to come back and say, "Oh yeah, remember what happened at this time." Moving forward. So that's again the nice thing about High Republic, and then but Star Wars is that keeps going. So yeah, last comment here. So that happens, forces the issue come out before one line. Another book. I mean, again, that's another thing with High Republic, especially. The book releases. All that. We got Trials of the Jedi cover. Or at least we didn't have time.
We got to talk about that. Yeah, that's the last thing. Yeah.
I forgot to make a note. That came out. I didn't even get it. So because we had too much to do, we could have talked about that, but just too much to go through here. Maybe we'll talk about it next week or not. I don't know. Joel and I will talk about it on Monday. But yeah. So I get it. It just hopefully, I mean, Tyler, thanks for that behind the scenes look. Thanks for all the work you do. I was happy to shout your name out at all 4 of these books. all these creators. I mean, they give everything to these stories. So, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's great. I love that. Especially
that is so crazy how in depth they are. Where it's like we have to follow the sequence of a freaking insider short.
But I'm especially if it's also an Eriadu, right? If it's also
yes,
because I mean that's the thing I brought up. This is an interesting note. Just one last tangent, one last aside. I'll say when we talked about the insider short, the latest insider short. It's the Adrens. They're on Eriadu. They think they're alone. We know that the Jedi are there, but they're in Bifranc City. And so, in this comic book, this is a short story. It's amazing. I mean, also, this is the first massive publishing initiative of this scale.
I'm telling you, they're going to learn a lot from the High Republic. They're looking at the data right now going, okay, this didn't work. Okay, it really worked out in the beginning and then people dropped off. How do we keep people retained? Okay, is it an overload? So that's why I'm curious about Celebration. I don't know if they're going to be ready to announce something new right then and there because we'll still be dealing with the High Republic. I hope they tease something, but I hope they also take their time with it too when they are ready to put something out. Make sure that things are not going to feel overwhelming for the fans.
Yeah. All right. I think we've beaten this horse to death.
I think so. It's fine.
Next week, speaking of Mr. Soul, next week, Legacy of Vader #1. This is exciting. Joel's going to join us again, resident sequelist. Kylo Ren going into Grandpa's Legacy. Really looking forward to this one. Again, I mean, Darth Moments whetting our appetite for another Charles Soule Vader comic. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to say this.
You think we're going to see actual like Vader flashbacks of him doing stuff? That'd be pretty cool.
I hope so. And the Legacy Vader and Mustafar. Like, I'm pretty sure it goes to Mustafar. I'm pretty sure.
It does. It does. He goes there and he explores the castle and all that. That's crazy.
I'm just thinking now, this is going to be the sequel to my favorite comic book of all time.
And also shout out to Star Wars Explained on YouTube because he got a really good interview, which all of you should watch. That has Mark Guggenheim, Alex Segura, and Charles Soule, the architects of the ongoing comics 2025 and beyond, are all in there giving like good stuff. So good props to Alex over at the Star Wars Explained because. At one point, Charles Soule is like, he's trailblazing right now. He's trailblazing sequel trilogy content because he has to get a lot of things approved with the story group because they're like, oh, should we be showing Tatooine right now? Because like we might be needing to show more of that in a movie, or what about Mustafar? So we're going to be seeing a lot of like first time cool stuff that I think that's going to blow our minds because we have not seen that represented this far into the timeline. So there's going to be some really exciting, interesting things to look at with that. So
yeah, I need to watch that one. I need to watch that interview and not be jealous. I need to watch the interview. I won't be jealous. We definitely will get flashbacks. We know this. I think this is in the solicits or it's all over the internet. A certain flashback of Vader going back and encountering a certain certain part of Anakin's story. I won't spoil it. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Also to say we're going to talk about Tempest Breaker. I'm going to take some time to give that kind of more Iron Cannon style character discussion. I'm thinking that my best way into that is just, okay, what about, we mentioned Lorna's character, mentioned Keeve. Yeah. So, and I mean, Avar will bring her up to talk about everybody. But so we're going to finally bring that in, get us set as, like you said, the Fear of the Jedi coming up. Next week, or no, in 2 weeks. Coming in 2 weeks. So so stay tuned for that. All right, Chris, an hour and 20 minutes, 6 books, an hour and 20 minutes. I think we did it. Okay, again, it'd be nice to take longer, but what can you do? Where can they find you on the internet?
Find me at youtube.com/StarRaptor, breaking down the latest in Star Wars and gaming. I just put up a video last week about the Xbox Studio Showcase Dev _ Direct little thing, talking about their imminent game releases, which are looking very exciting. Give my take on all that good stuff over there, from Doom to South of Midnight to Ninja Gaiden to Expedition 33, all these really good, diverse platform type games coming out. So I got that. Yeah, I've been trying my best to do some more outside of Star Wars videos, and it looks like people are enjoying them, so I'll keep doing them. So there, and that's youtube.com/StarRaptor, as well as twitter.com/StarRaptors, where you'll find me talking about everything, such as the brand new Spider-Man show. I put out a tweet today. You should check it out, Matthew, because it's some really good, unique take on Spider-Man's origins with a really good art style. I keep forgetting the name because it used to be Spider-Man freshman year, and it was going to be an MCU tie-in animated series, and then it became something Spider-Man. So
Friendly Neighborhood.
There we go. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Really good stuff. Check it out.
So yeah, I just finished Parks and Rec, so now I have something to watch on my lunch breaks. There you go. I'll check that out. Good old Marvel. You can follow us Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD and ironcannon.bisky.social, Blue Sky, where we are more active. Joel is more active as well. This past Monday on Iron Cannon, I took the night off. Joel had a guest on talk about a Legend look back into the X-Wing comic book from Legends. So check that out. And then this coming Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Underworld Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and Iron Cannon Twitch. We're talking about Skeleton Crew. We're going to do finally get to our season look back of Skeleton Crew. So check that out again, character focused. I imagine the way Joel's going to put it together. So please do check that out. And then, of course, right here on the Tractor Beam Comics reviews, we are again talking about Legacy Vader #1 and Tempest Breaker by Kevin Scott, the audio play by Kevin Scott, as promised. But Chris, we did it. We went through. It was fun. It was more fun than we thought. It was fun. There we go. Yeah. I told you it would be fun. I told you it would be enjoyable. You have a great night as well.
6 comics in an hour, everybody. It's not easy.
But we'll one coming up next week. So until then, happy reading.